Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to another episode of the Penny Bloom Podcast. 'Tis I, Colton Robertson, and I am joined today by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
What up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. As always, we are continuing our 52-year journey through film. We just got past 95. We're on to 96 this week, and thus we are covering Trainspotting. It's real interesting watching this, just because we've grown up with Ewan McGregor as our Obi-Wan Kenobi, and seeing him in his most recent role just conclude this week with Obi-Wan Kenobi, just Wednesday. Today we're covering one of his earliest, if not his absolute earliest. Pretty early on in the man's career, this was.
Oh yeah, glad I finally got to see him as someone not as Obi-Wan Kenobi. It was just to see how, I don't know, he's an amazing actor. Like after this role, this role was an insane one to play. Like just physically, like how he had to just get thin too, like for this.
Oh, he was itty bitty, dude.
And like, oh my god, this role was. I'm so glad that I finally got to see.
And even crazier, this is probably the role that books him Kenobi, as far as his acting ability, which is kind of insane. But let's lay the groundwork for the people here for Trainspotting. It was released August 9th of 1996. It was written. Oh, the screenplay was by John Hodge, but it's based on a novel by Irvine Welsh, and it's directed by Danny Boyle, who also directed Slumdog Millionaire, which I remember when I was little.
Okay.
Got huge awards all over the place. Also 127 hours, the director of that as well. So a well-established director with a lot under his belt. And Trainspotting is quite the interesting film to have made, especially from a directorial standpoint. This was pretty insane at a lot of points. I was just like pretty genre bending, a lot of like high intensity, but it's also really sad, but it's keeping this lighthearted pace that's pushing you along so that you don't get too enveloped in the sadness of it all. Yeah, I don't know. It was just
I mean, there was the opening of the movie. It's not that bad. The first 30 or so minutes, you're kind of like, okay.
No, in fact, I was watching 30, 35 minutes in going, maybe I've heard this is hard to watch because of how nasty it can be at points. Him putting his hands in a bowl full of shit and diving into it to get the pills. No, I was wrong. That was just the beginning of the movie. At about 40 minutes in, there's going to be a dead baby, and it's just going to be a part of the movie.
From then on, it was just kind of like, just devastating from that point on. But I don't know, it did kind of find a good balance between, devastating and
comedy.
I don't know. It was funny, but not. I'm not rolling on the ground laughing.
Obviously not. No, it's more like a situational, like the way they handle the situations becomes funny. You know what I'm saying? Like we were talking off mic about a certain cut where it was like it's not inherently a funny thing where they go out to the mountains and Ewan McGregor's like it's a shite state of affairs. This we can't. Like, fresh air isn't going to do nobody good. And then, like, they cut, and he goes, so we decided to start doing heroin again as soon as possible. I'm like, that's not actually funny, but the cut there made it kind of funny.
Yeah. I don't know. I after this movie, I am like so far away from ever. I mean, I was already far away from ever trying heroin,
Oh
but
yeah, no,
but
that's
now it's like, I mean, I am like,
negative chance
yeah,
there. Yeah.
and I mean, I think that's the true, point of this movie to really show what addiction is like and what people really do go through.
It's definitely about the horrors of addiction, like
Mm.
how terrifying that state of affairs can be. Especially, there's literally a sequence in this movie that is out of like feels like a horror movie, and it's his recovery period, trying to he's suffering withdrawal, and he can't he's seeing the dead baby on the ceiling, and it's crawling towards him, and then its head turns all the way around. That was the point in the movie that I texted you and went, bro, I am scared. I am genuinely afraid because that scared the shit. Like, as soon as I started seeing the head turn, I was like, nope, that's not for me. I covered my eyes. I was like, I'm not going to check where that's going.
I mean, whenever, because I think you told me, that either the person who wrote the novel or maybe the director went through addiction, or was it
the person who wrote the novel definitely went through some addiction, and Danny Boyle did. I looked into it, and it said he'd got engaged with some substances at different points in his life, but he was never like full blown addict. Had to suffer through the shit that our characters here suffer through. At least that's what I read, in the little reading I did. But yeah, Irvine Welsh went through like an 18-month period of addiction where which I guess we're not too far off from that period of time here. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't seem like there's a ton of time that passes over this course of this movie. It definitely feels like it's maybe a year, like we definitely take some time jumps, and we definitely watch it unfold in a really interesting way. But, man, this was a really, really good and well-performed movie. Like, Ewan McGregor as Rents. I loved that. He was fantastic. Kevin McKidd as Tommy with the tragic, clean, good kid, good boy who gets engaged with substances, and Ewan McGregor being like trying to not let him, like, no, like, I'm not just gonna give you it, and then he pulls out money and he's like, okay. It's like, damn, man.
I don't know. The point of me bringing up that the author of the novel struggling is because it felt like if you didn't go through something like that this movie couldn't have been made like this way, or there were just so many specific details that no way a normal person could put on film or in a novel. And
someone who hasn't experienced addiction.
Specifically, just like the withdrawal scene. I feel like that was like, I never really thought of what that would feel like or what that experience would be like. But after watching that, like, I mean, it felt spot on, even though I have no idea what it feels like.
Yeah, right.
And him climbing into the toilet, or whenever he takes that one last hit, and then he goes to the hospital, like in the carpet, he sinks into the carpet and it stays in his vision, even though he's and I don't know, like, there were just so many specific things that I have no idea if they are correct, but it felt correct and it felt authentic.
It felt authentic as fuck. One of my, I mean, like, this main cast of characters, the Rents, Sick Boy, Tommy, Spud, and Begbie.
Oh, Begbie.
Oh, Begbie. Like, we watched Goodfellas a couple weeks ago, and this Begbie is our Joe Pesci from that movie. Like, he's definitely compensating for something. Maybe it's little man syndrome, I don't know. But he's just too angry, man. It's definitely one where I'm like, they keep him on. They keep being friends with this guy. Why? Like, what's and they talk about how, like, they're kind of they're like a family, so it's like you can't just kick someone out. Like, it's just not how it works. And I think that was all that was really there. But they also showed us that they're not afraid to fuck each other over at any given point.
All of them were thinking about it. I mean, the only one who Yeah, he was just like, no, don't do like, I don't know. He was just so innocent and so like, whenever
when you
he was working as a mechanic and like, I forgot who went up to him, but like he tried to, speak and like, I think that's what he said or something along those lines.
yeah
And then he starts singing, like, whenever they're all in the bar and he's just singing and they're all just like looking at him. And it's just like, I was like, oh my God. Like, I don't know. There were so many, just devastating parts of the movie. And Spud was one that I was just like, oh man, this guy I just felt so bad. Like they need to show like the things like that though. Like the how it damages you and like how like all these things that they needed to show, but that we didn't want to see,
right.
and it's like the whole movie.
And I love that this movie starts kind of with Rentz giving a monologue about his narration about how, they always tell you the bad things about addiction. Like you never about heroin, what it'll do to you, but they never tell you how good it feels. And like he and obviously that's all it takes for him to come back to it. He talks about how like when you're not high, when you are high, all you're worried about is staying high. But when you're not high, you have a whole lot of other shit to worry about. And the way that he frames it as like a loving relationship, the way he narrates about it, but the things they show us on screen are like, this is destroying you, And I kick off the movie pretty quick with him being like, I'm done. That's it. Like I'm not going back. I'm done with the smack, like I'm done with that shit. And I can't remember who it was. Maybe Sick Boy was just like, all right, okay. Sure you are, buddy.
Heard this one before. Yeah. But man, I think, like after, because he goes through the withdrawals and he sees Tommy already in the state that he's in before he like actually sees him for the first time, and whenever like you get to his apartment and just see how destroyed and disgusting and like, and he just instantly goes like, he just opens the door, walks back, lays down on his bed, and like, it's just like, oh my God, like, holy shit. Like, I don't know. It was just one just devastating thing after the other. And then, I don't know. The movie took like a really cool turn whenever they were going for the score. The 16.
Yeah,
the 16,
I was like, now we're doing like a whole crime thing here for a little bit. Yeah,
what a cool way to end the movie
with like this back and forth. They show him running from the cops and him getting stopped by the cops, and that's ultimately what leads to his arrest. But and he doesn't stay very clean long after his arrest. Like it doesn't take long for him to get back into the thick of it. But there are multiple points in this movie where you're holding out hope. Maybe this is it. And, it's a movie. So I'm in the back of my head, I'm going, it's not, it's a movie about addiction. I doubt he's just going to stay clean and watch his buddies go further and further downhill. But,
yeah, I don't know that, but whenever the baby dies and like, I can't, like they showed, like in the crib, they showed the baby
and still,
and then just the screams, like for a good 2-3 minutes straight. Yeah.
Like that. Like you hear this woman screaming, and Rentz is kind of talking like she's just been screaming. And I don't even know why.
Could have been a day, could have been a week, could have been a month. He said, like, don't know how long she's been screaming, but and then it seems that it was kind of immediate though. That they got up and went over. So
I think it was just the heroin that made it felt like those screams went on forever. Like when they all go in there and like they didn't know Sick Boy was the dad, but that they're like, then we knew, then we know who the dad was. I was like, fuck, God damn, like, this is just devastating.
And Ewan, he was narrating at the time, and he was like, I there was no words that I could find. There was nothing that I could say, or whatever. And then somebody say something, like somebody fucking say something. Like it was just like, oh my God, like how, I don't even know. Like it was just part of the movie that I was like, okay, like this is the reputation of the movie that I've heard about. And it was a whole turn, and I don't know, just a film that I'm so glad that I've seen. I don't really know how much I will revisit.
I don't
it.
know that I will.
I think this might be a one and done.
It might be. The only reason, and I will say, really, really well directed, really, really prettily shot. Like, it was a very good looking movie. At a lot of points, the colors were vibrant, and they just it all popped. The performances are outstanding. So, like, from a perspective of, like, if I want to watch a critically good movie that's just gonna devastate me, I might come back to Trainspotting. But it certainly won't be one that's a quick turnaround. It'll be a little bit before I rewatch this. There is a sequel.
I saw that, like T2 Trainspotting or something like that. Yeah,
it came out 5 years ago in 2017. So it was like 20 years after the fact. But I read the synopsis, and it's like in the fallout of Ewan having stole the score. I
see. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, the continuation of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess at the end, I just felt like I just felt kind of satisfied. It was just he was satisfied, but not at the.
No, yeah, it's about as good an ending as you could hope for based on the content of the movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was under the impression, like, I got like 30 minutes into this, and I was like, man, if all these guys are gonna die, like, this is going to be really sad. And then I saw there's a sequel with all of them in it. So I was like, okay, well, at least they don't all die. Like, that's a good sign. You know what I'm saying? And Tommy ultimately does die, which is sad. And, Kevin McKay really, really did well in that role. I hadn't seen him that young ever.
Yeah, that was super. The only thing I've really seen him in is Grey's Anatomy. And like, that, I don't know, that's just what I instantly recognized him as. And then seeing him in the movie for the first time, I was like, whoa, like, dang, you are young here, man.
It's a young man, yeah.
Yeah, that whole, the 100 top goals or whatever that Ewan was like, hey, can I borrow this? And what that turned into, that was basically the start of his spiral, was that his girl left him after that. They couldn't be together. And then he was like, "Yeah, I'm at rock bottom already, pretty much. So I'm old enough to figure out for myself. You
tell me it's better than the best orgasm you've ever had. Like, come on, like I gotta know what that is." And like the wherewithal of like the dissonance of an addict to be like, you don't want this shit, like, because that's what Rents is sitting there like I'm not gonna fuck your life like I fucked mine. No, like I'm too far gone. You've still got it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're chilling. And then he shows him money, and he's like, "Well, I can get more heroin with that."
And the whole sequence of them like showing how they got like other drugs too. Like, this went into old folks' homes and just started grabbing stuff or like anything they could find. There was a time where he just listed like every drug, like anything that ended in amine or like, I don't know, just anything. It was just man.
We took morphine, diamorphine, sizlazine, codeine, tempozam, nitrazepam, phenobarbital. Like, he just kept going. We took them all. Fuck it. We would have injected vitamin C if only they'd made it illegal.
Jeez, yeah, man. It was just I don't know. The only thing I did write down in the whole movie, the thing that just like after they walked on the mountain and he just gave the monologue, Ewan just went off on Tommy basically, and I wrote almost the whole thing down. There was only about, I think, one word that I couldn't understand, but I don't know. It starts out by saying, "It's shite being Scottish, but the law is still the law. We, on the other hand, are colonized by wankers, but you can't even find a decent culture to be colonized by." And I think this is the word that I couldn't get is, "We are ruled by blank assholes." I think it was maybe elitist. Something along those lines, buddies.
I have the straight from Straight from IMDb, the quote straight from the movie.
Mm.
It's shite being Scottish. We're the lowest of the low, the scum of the fucking earth, the most wretched, miserable, servile, pathetic trash that was ever shat into civilization. Some hate the English. I don't. They're just wankers. We, on the other hand, are colonized by wankers. Can't even find a decent culture to be colonized by. We're ruled by, effete assholes. It's a shite state of affairs to be in, Tommy, and all the fresh air in the world won't make any fucking difference.
I mean, and no one said a word after that. It was just kind of like, damn, yeah, he's right. And they just started walking back. And sadly, at or around this time, Spud, Sick Boy, and I made the healthy, informed, democratic decision to get back on heroin as soon as possible.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where it's like, it's not funny. But the way you've presented the information to me is funny. Another one of the funnier moments in the movie is when Ewan walks into the apartment and he acts like he's in a restaurant and he's getting served heroin like it's like fucking dinner. And Sick Boy's a waiter and stuff like that. Like
man,
ever begin Swanee? I'm off the skag.
Man, I don't know. I think if I were, like, the only part of me that wants to revisit the movie is like the ending. Like, is the crime just like the whole sequence of them going back and forth? And
another reason I'd be interested in watching the movie again is knowing where it's going. Like, part of the hell of this movie is me expecting the worst possible thing at all times, just because of what I've heard about the movie. Like, I'm anticipating an OD at pretty much every turn. You know what I'm saying? And we only get one, which is like one on screen, and it's Ewan, and it's not even that graphic. It just shows him sink into the carpet and not wake up. You know what I'm saying? Like
is that a common thing? To just drag someone into a taxi, put the money in the pocket. Like, I feel like no way that actually happens, right? Like, that was.
I'd be willing to bet it happens. I wouldn't bet that it's common. You know what I'm saying? Like,
because the taxi driver just felt. I mean, he didn't think anything of it. He just dragged him out, took the money out of his pocket, and went on his way. And like,
right. Well, that's the thing, is that like he seemed to show concern initially. Like, as he was getting in the cab, like, oh fuck, oh shit, I got to get him out of here, like, and he sped off, but then he was like, I don't need to do much more than dump him on the floor outside the hospital and take the money from him and go. And I think that was just another example of Rentz probably justifying the way he thinks about things. Is like, this asshole couldn't even bother to do more for me than drag me outside the taxi and take my money. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a shite state of affairs.
Man, I just like the apartments that they were in, and just like holes in the walls, the like blue handprints on like the exposed brick, and like just every detail. It was just so detailed to the point that I couldn't even tell like the difference that this was a movie from like what just real. Like, it felt like this was just straight up filmed in a legit, like, I don't know. It just felt so real. It felt so real.
And that's what's so interesting, is that there's something about it, like, and I think it's a credit to Danny Boyle's filmmaking here, that like there's this rawness and this realness that permeates through it, but there's also this surreal fantasticalness to it every once in a while. Like, we see with him diving into the toilet bowl, and we see with him sinking into the carpet and seeing and the hallucinations he has. Like, there's this realness to it, and there's also this fantasticalness to it that I absolutely love when you can strike a combo like that. And I think one of the stories where you get freedom like that is stories about addiction, because another place where I feel like I get that is Euphoria. This raw realness, but there's obviously this fantastical nature to what's going on. Like, it's like, it's just a really interesting balance to strike. And
we haven't even spoken on the Diane situation yet. His love at first sight that turns into quite the situation. I was not expecting this at all. It was probably the only part of the movie that I was kind of like, did this really need to be in here? I don't know. Like,
I watched this I watched this 2 nights ago, and I'll say it is largely, it's definitely far and away the part I've forgotten the most about. So like I think that speaks volumes to it. Like
I guess maybe it was just another storyline to show just how shitty things can get so quickly. Whenever you're in this state of mind, you're not thinking right, and any situation can turn, at any point. I think that's kind of the only point. I don't know, like, I don't know.
Like it's ruining all aspects of his life, including romantics. Like it's like there is nothing redeeming. There's only, and maybe that's why he runs with this crew. Like these are the only dudes who are still willing to ride with him. And like so maybe he should show them a shred of loyalty, even though he betrays them at the end. Like it's a real back and forth thing there.
Man, I can only imagine what Begbie is like in this sequel. I mean, he's probably hunting. Like he is. I mean, that dude, he gets off on violence. He put the knife on the table, walked downstairs, started an entire bar fight, and they're just watching.
Bro said,
they just.
Oh my god, Lassie got glassed. And nobody's fucking going anywhere until we find out what cunt did it. Who are you? Yeah. Just kicks the dude in the balls. Like, what the fuck?
He's carrying 4 pints, back to the table. A dude bumps him, and he's like, if you can't carry a pint, then you're not allowed to be at this bar. I'm like, once he said that, I'm like, dude, that was not the right guy to say that to. Gets a glass right in the mouth. And I love the Begbie's like, all right, I'm going to take a piss. The money still better be there whenever I get back. He's kind of saying it as a jokey manner, but he's serious. He's like, nah, you might actually do this. Like, it better be here when I get back. And then I forgot who gets up next. But it's just Spud and Renton there sitting there, and they're looking at, he's like, you want to, what do you think? Like, what are you thinking?
Should we?
And, you kind of see Spud's eyes. He's kind of like, he's initially like, no, like, no. Like, he's always, he's ride or die. I don't know. Spud is the only kind of just true one. If I were to pick,
there's this balance they have to try and find where Rents talks about how when you're high, you only look forward to scoring. Like you're looking for a way to get heroin. I feel like Spud's the only one that holds his friends above the high. I mean, besides Begbie's just a fuckboy. Like because he's clean and he uses that as like a superiority complex over the rest of his friends. But I'd argue he's the biggest asshole in the friend group, which is like man, you're really fucking up, dude. But yeah, Spud, he was just a sweetheart, He wanted to be there for his friends, and I liked when Sick Boy came back and was like, surprised you're still here. I'd have done it. And that's enough for Rents. He's like, okay, well, fuck Begbie, and if you would have done it, I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and then the safety deposit box at the end, when you see Spud get, I don't know how much that was. It wasn't. It was probably only like $2,000,
but it was enough.
That for an addict, that was like. I mean, sadly, he's gonna spend it on more heroin. Most likely.
Probably.
But satisfyingly unsatisfying to see Spud at the end, just that big smile, and then him close the box and
and maybe
but
headcanon. Movie ends there. We could go, what, that was the turning point for Spud.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, he got clean with that money.
Yeah, but Sick Boy was one of the more interesting characters in this movie for me too. I loved his casual. Whenever he got, and it was only whenever he was high, he would start talking about movies and music, and he would just he would get really, really deep into it and just like talk about everything he knows about it and like all the artists and creators who do these things, and I just really loved that aspect of the movie too. He was just a really, really interesting character, and it makes it all the more sad when that because he was one of the brighter, shining like personalities in this movie. And
I guess I never really thought of why the movie is called Trainspotting.
Yeah, I there's only one part where a train passes in front of them and they watch it go by, and I don't even think that shot's in the movie.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, I never, yeah, I don't, huh. Really...
Well, because I looked into it, what train spotting means, and it's literally watching trains. That's what train spotting is.
Interesting.
Maybe it's that part with the fucking BB guns. They're imitating Sean Connery. You have the beast in your sight.
That was, yeah. There was a lot of just cute, funny moments that took you out of it for a little bit and just gave you a little bit of joy, for the movie. And maybe, I don't know, maybe the more I'm thinking about it, maybe I do revisit this movie knowing where it goes. I think if I rewatch it, I'm skipping the baby scene, I'm skipping the withdrawal. Those two scenes I'm good never seeing again. But I don't know. I think, the rest of the movie, they do kind of find a balance where it isn't just devastating the entire time. There is some redeeming quality.
They move like that. The movie is so incredibly fast. It's only an hour and a half in runtime, and there's a lot of story here. You know what I'm saying? Like Diane's okay. She was the young girl. Okay, that explains why I just went. Throw that out of my head. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I remember that. The way she was telling him to be quiet and be quiet. You can't make a lot of noise. Be quiet on your way out. It's because she lives with her parents.
Ooh, yeah. Poor Spud. And he was so drunk, and then he woke up with that accident. He had to, carry the blanket.
God,
Oh man, I as a germaphobe. This scene, it literally caused me to instinctually turn away from the TV. I literally I couldn't. It was
knowing that information about you. Whenever he stuck his hands in the toilet bowl prior to I was watching it, you hadn't started yet. I almost went, I don't know if this is the one for us. I was like, I might just spare you this.
Yeah, after he stuck his hand in that, that was another very physical cringe moment. But then I remember I was live texting you during this moment.
You went, what?
And he stuck his hand in, and you were like, "Oh, just wait," and I was already like, "Oh fuck," and then I was like, "Oh no, he climbed in," or whatever. Man, yeah, that was man, I don't know. But I don't know. I think I can. This was I took one screenshot out of the movie, and it was basically the recreation of the Beatles
100%
album cover.
Intentional.
It was just, I don't know, this was just part of the movie where I was like, that was pretty cool. They didn't need to do that. There was no reason to do that. It was just sick. It was just cool.
Well, and it's clear that Sick Boy talks about music a lot. One of my favorite interactions in this movie is when Sick Boy and Rent are going back and forth, and he goes, "It's certainly a phenomenon in all walks of life." What do you mean? Well, at one time you've got it, and then you lose it, and it's gone forever. All walks of life. George Best, for example, had it, lost it. Or David Bowie, or Lou Reed. Some of his solo stuff's not bad. No, it's not bad, but it's not great either. And in your heart, you kind of know, although it sounds all right, it's actually just shite. I loved that, because I've had that exact thought process on artists I love, where I'm like, it's not bad. New stuff. It's not bad. But there's that part deep down where you're like, fuck, it's just not as good as it once was, and who else? And he starts listing more and more, and Rent's like, okay, so what's the point you're trying to make? All I'm trying to do is help you understand that the name of the rose is merely a blip on an otherwise uninterrupted downward trajectory.
Damn. Yeah, for how for being addicts, they definitely got deep. A lot of, I don't know, they just had a lot of deep conversations and a lot of a lot of things that I would never think of myself, that I was hearing it come from, addicts and in a movie like this was interesting. But I don't know, it was just a
There's this
movie.
existential energy to some of their interactions that's like they're like trying their best to figure it out, but they just cannot.
Ugh. Yeah, oh man, and his parents, you know, where he gets clean for the first time, and he, you know, and
I loved that part of the movie. The way his parents treated him, like it wasn't a dismissal, you know, it wasn't a you fucked yourself, we're done. It was a I can't believe you've done this, but I'm
now
still
we're
going to do
stepping in.
everything I
Yeah,
can to help you.
like now we're stepping in and making sure you
Yeah.
do it right. And I mean, sadly, that's how it has to happen. You know, like unless you're slowly waning off, like you do in rehab. You know, like that. And obviously, that didn't work for him. You know, and that's kind of the only way to do it. And they knew that. They knew that their son was about to go through like one of the worst, you know, experiences that he could possibly imagine. And I don't know, just from the parents' perspective, like it just every time that I took a step back and then thought like, oh man, like I mean, just putting myself in the parents' shoes, I'm like, like that sucks. And then I'm putting myself in Ewan's shoes during that withdrawal, and I'm like, oh man, that's like no matter who you put yourself in during this movie, it's just like just so devastating. And so,
And there's also this really interesting like background thing that's going on. Like I think they reference HIV and AIDS a couple times as it's the period of time in which the HIV AIDS epidemic was raging. And they don't make it a point of the movie. Oof, yeah. They don't make it a point of the movie, but like it contributes to the shite state of affairs they're discussing. You know what I'm saying? Like Rents at one point says, it seems, however, I really am the luckiest guy in the world. Several years of addiction right in the middle of an epidemic surrounded by the living dead. But not me. I'm negative. It's official. And once the pain goes away, that's when the real battle starts. Depression, boredom. You feel so fucking low you want to fucking top yourself. Like, god damn, man.
Man, God.
And it's also pretty forward thinking at multiple points. Like in terms of sexuality. Like there's another moment in this movie where he says, you see, if you ask me, we're heterosexual by default, not by decision. It's just a question of who you fancy. It's all about aesthetics, and it's fuck all to do with morality. But you try to tell Begbie that.
Yeah, true. He wouldn't really I don't know, Begbie, man. Him in the room after after they wake up and the money's gone and that room just being destroyed and like I don't know, it was cool seeing the actual what do you call it? Like the trade go down, like where they give him the heroin for the money, and it shows like the top view of the room. The camp, like it's filmed in a very, I don't know, just amazing way. Like every shot was set up beautifully. And then
there's just been a lot of I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter about like Spider-Man No Way Home the last couple days. Like there's like the specific shot of Flash on his phone learning that Peter is Spider-Man, and Spider-Man and Zendaya shoot underneath the ground behind him. You remember that part of the movie? Pretty insignificant shot, completely inconsequential, but people are fucking like, this is terrible. Why would you do this? Because it's like, it's clearly a dude in front of a green screen. Like it's like he's not actually on the street doing anything, especially when you take that shot and isolate it. Didn't notice when it was full motion or anything. You isolate it and it's like, okay, yeah. And I can understand gripes about like lazy shots and stuff like that. You definitely don't like, it seems like every shot in this movie had intention. Like there was it set up the camera. There wasn't a shot in this movie that was just shoehorned. It was just like, we'll shoot it from this angle. It was like, find the most interesting way to portray this interaction, this scene. Find the most interesting way to do that. And credit to Danny Boyle there, because it is really, really. I almost want to go back and watch it simply for its editing and its visuals alone. Like it's
Yeah, there's something about a movie that has zero visual effects. I mean, I guess the carpet, coming up from him. I don't know. It could still be all in camera, like practical. I feel like everything was practical. No real visual effects. I guess how he climbed into the toilet. I don't know how they specifically did that. I don't know. But there's something about a movie that that this is just a camera and humans on Earth.
Yeah.
It's just real. And what you're getting or what you're seeing is what you get. And they literally set up the camera for the shot with the intention of everything. I don't know. There's something about just older movies that are just fully real. And I don't know. It kind of, I don't know. That's what I felt, going through all these movies that we have watched. A lot of the good ones that stand out are just ones that are super real, a real story with no crazy visual effects or anything like that. It's just real. And I don't know. I was trying to come up with a word to describe this movie. And I can't really find anything other than devastating. It's the word I come back to every time. It's just a truly devastating movie.
I like maybe raw. Like it's just like it feels unfiltered.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just it's all out there for you, kind of outrageous. Like I can't think of another movie where I've seen a dead baby, shit flung across a room, a man digging his hands into a toilet bowl full of shit. Like that's outrageous. That's ridiculous. And the fact that all those things can happen in a movie and I can leave it going, that was a damn good movie. That's pretty effective. Like that's like a really hard thing to do, because we've talked about the enjoyment rating at various points and how like, if you say certain things or if you do this, it's going to get dinked a little bit for me in enjoyment. And like logically showing me a dead baby and shit flinging across a room, that should make me go, I like this movie a little less. But there's something about them steering into it that makes me go, maybe I like it a little bit more. It's not just something that doesn't feel necessary. It's something that feels like it was part of the story. Maybe the shit flinging across the room. Maybe that one could have gone without happening. But nevertheless, it was just really, really, really well done, And
I mean, ever since Dead Poets, that was really where our enjoyment rating took a switch.
Became refined.
Yeah, became true, I feel. I don't think in every movie before that, I don't think it's, truly messed up or anything like that, but
I'd come to about the same conclusions, I think, but we refined the definition of our enjoyment of movies at that point.
And how, connected I felt to this movie, like once I started watching and once I was in, after that 30 minutes, after, the 40-minute mark, like, where things got real, I could not do anything other than watch the movie. Like, did not open my phone once, did not, like, it was just, I was in. And at the end, I'm like, oh, I was watching a movie. Like, I kind of like, I was like, wow, I kind of
it
forgot.
Envelops you. Like, it's a really, really, really effective, like, I guess that's the word I keep coming back to, is effective. Like, this story is one that on paper, it shouldn't be enjoyable to watch. And I really, really enjoyed watching this movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, this made me not happy, but I enjoyed watching this movie. As I was watching it, I remember going like if I'm going from a strictly visual perspective, this is amongst my favorite movies of all time. Like, there's a lot of really, really interesting shots that I don't think we've gotten a movie that resembles this so far, 70 through 96. I don't think any of them look like Trainspotting. It's original and it's damn good. So, are we ready for the ratings then?
I think I'm ready. Yeah. I'm, I guess starting with enjoyment, we're already here. I'm thinking like a 4 or 5 is the floor.
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah.
and
I
maybe
was thinking
around there.
4.6.
Yeah.
Was the floor like I was thinking like 4.65, 4.7 probably for
Mm.
my enjoyment of this movie.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I'm feeling 4.6, 4.7. Yeah, that feels right.
let's go 4.6. Let's meet in the middle.
Yeah.
With the 4.5 being the floor and 4.7 being kind of probably the ceiling. Like I did see a dead baby.
Mm-hmm.
That's rough.
Yeah. Even though it's sad, it was necessary for the movie.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know, that's not a bad enjoyment rating at all. Like a 4.6.
No, not at all. That's
puts it above, puts it above
7
7.
last week.
Puts it above Pulp Fiction. Puts it above The Mask. Puts it, above Ace Ventura.
I'd say I definitely enjoyed watching these movies. Like it connects with me in a way that those movies didn't. Especially like I think one of the gripes I had with 7 last week was that I didn't care for the characters all that much. Like on paper, I should have. Like it seemed like they did enough, but there was something missing there for me. And this one, like I don't want what happens to these characters to happen to these characters. You know what I'm saying? Like that really gets me. And so yeah, I go 4.6 there.
All right. Now as a genre, this is a drama, and we do. It is hard, for a movie to be genre defining as a drama. And
I'd say no matter how we spin it, this movie is far from genre defining.
Yeah. It does a lot of genre breaking things.
Yeah, genre
say.
blending. Like there's a lot of moments where I'm like I don't know that I would define this movie as any one.
Exactly.
Like drama safe because it's an umbrella term that can kind of encompass a lot of stuff.
It's kind of in a genre of its own.
Yeah.
I don't really like. I can't. I'm trying to pull like a movie to compare it to. And I guess maybe Dead Poets is the closest one we have on this list. Just because and that's a stretch. That's a huge stretch. It's like I don't know.
Interestingly enough, the closest I'd go is Boys in the Hood.
Okay. Oh no, that is a good one. That's a pretty good comparison.
The group of friends who are marred by their situation and kind of I have to overcome what's around them. There's clearly a main character. A couple of them end up dead. Like there's definitely there's more like, and that's what's interesting is that like if you I would say if they were portrayed younger, something of a coming of age, but there's not really a coming of age that they get to. Like it's just kind of
the only reason I throw Dead Poets is just like the devastating part of.
Well, I mean that is another group of friends who are marred by their situation, and like there's definitely something there, and if I'm being honest with myself, I watched Dead Poets and I watched Boys in the Hood again before I watched Trainspotting.
That's
you know
true.
what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I probably go in the 4.75 range, 4.7 range for this in terms of genre.
Yeah, I'm right there.
I think that's probably safe.
Oh yeah, I mean, Boys in the Hood, a 5 in the genre. Dead Poets, a 4.85. It's it's not up there with them, but not too far behind. So I'm feeling 4.7. That does feel about right for me.
All right.
You thinking 4.7 or 4.75 though? Does it
probably
deserve that little? Yeah. That feels more right.
Yeah.
But, and here we go. I think the strongest part of the movie is how it is as a film, critically made,
pretty well written,
performances,
really really tight visuals. The editing, like I know I mentioned that earlier, but like it's really well edited. Like the flow of the movie is incredible. It's hard to have this big of a story fit into an hour and a half and it feel organic and natural, and that's a credit to the editing. I'm pretty high on this. I think it's probably in that. I hold it up to Goodfellas, that 4.85 up there. Like I feel like it's from a pure point of being critical. every bit as well performed. Every bit.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe even tighter visuals, which is tough to say with Martin Scorsese at the director helm, but like in terms of like a direct comparison, it's probably every bit as well written, every bit as well acted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much right there too.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like 4.8, like absolute floor.
Yeah, definitely.
So like, I'm feeling, I don't know, maybe 4.854. Maybe a 4.9 is too high. I don't know.
I wouldn't go that high. I wouldn't go that high,
I mean,
just because like that's the tier that we've held the best of the best movies at.
The Godfather, Jaws, Raiders. Yeah, but you know, a Goodfellas, a little bit above Dead Poets or My Neighbor Totoro.
And I'd say that's right. Exactly where I'm feeling
above Apocalypse Now. A little bit above Pulp Fiction, a little bit above Forrest. Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, that totally feels right. And I think an important thing to say now, we really didn't compare to our previous scores a whole lot beforehand, because we didn't really have a whole lot of data to go off of. But now that we basically have half of a year of data to go off of, it kind of makes sense that we're looking back on our previous scores and really, really defining and, you know, putting
stuff
weird
in
numbers.
Stuff and no, yeah, absolutely. You know, I wanted to avoid that as much as possible through the first half of the year, but now we've got a sample size of almost 40 movies. It feels like we're getting up there.
So that ties it with Jurassic Park. Interestingly enough, it puts it right there with Jurassic Park at a 4.73, but a little bit below Boys in the Hood at a 4.75. So I mean, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You know, yeah, ranked 15 on our list as an average score, which, you know, feels right. And then
it does.
Critically as a film, it puts it that doesn't seem. Oh, that's right. We did make some changes.
We did, yes. We took the opportunity of being halfway through the year to look back on what we've done here and ask ourselves if we're feeling exactly right about it. And you know, there were plenty of changes. You know, we took our 4.8s and our 4.9s and switched them, which was an interesting find. We had Dead Poets, Forrest Gump, and My Neighbor Totoro all at 4.9s, while we had Godfather, Jaws, The Shining, Raiders, and Shawshank at 4.8, and we were like, that's just flipped. Like, I don't know how it happened like that, but that's how it happened. Yeah,
and this change, it was, I don't know, it fully makes sense to me. There's no, I don't know, no real debate in my mind that these movies are just simply above these other ones. I don't know. I put The Godfather, Jaws, Shining, Raiders, and Shawshank. That just feels like a perfect category for where everything is. Yeah, it does.
Like, that's just,
so I mean,
what more could you ask for there?
And right in between, you know, the sandwich in between those 4.9s and 4.8s is Goodfellas and Trainspotting, and it kind of just,
it feels right.
Oh yeah, that feels. I'm very comfortable where this ended up lying. So oh yeah, amazing.
You know what I didn't anticipate was a top 10 movie.
Yeah.
As far as a critical appeal out of Trainspotting. Like we're sitting there within the top 10 rankings there.
I guess it is in fourth place, tied for fourth. But in ninth or eighth. Where it lies. But I mean that's just how this project is going to go. There's no way that we could put any of these movies like above, you know, the other, no. You know, whenever they're all tied. And it makes sense for 52 movies, you know, that we're going to end up doing. Our top 10 at the end of it will probably be a good half of that, which is hilarious. But I don't know, this project, it's working out great. It feels right.
Trainspotting was a great addition here, and it was a hell of a way to kick off July.
Mm-hmm.
We're sitting here July 1st, straight up first day of July. 5-movie month. Don't get a lot of those as far as the Fridays are concerned. I know June was a special case as we had 7 movies in a week at one point. But 5 movies this month. Very excited. 97, 98, 99, and 2000. We'll get to the 2000s this month.
Wow.
Holy shit.
I would finally have been born. We are finally going into movies where we're alive for. Only a little bit, though.
Yeah, only a little bit, though, this month. And it'll be interesting, you know. I'm very excited, especially for 98's The Truman Show. That's going to be a big one. 97 next week, we've got Good Will Hunting. Which I'm very excited for. That's definitely going to be a good one. The Matrix for 1999. That's going to be a real good one. That's God, what a month we've got coming up here. This is going to give our best month a run for its money, if I had to guess.
It's, I don't know, starting out great. And haven't seen The Truman Show, but I've heard enough about it to know that I think I'm going to love that movie. And The Matrix, I know I already love. And Good Will Hunting is a movie I have seen before, but I don't really remember a whole lot about it.
It's definitely one that I watched like 10 years ago. Like I have not watched it in a really long time. And that's got like what, Ben Affleck and like Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting.
Like, don't they kill a bear? Isn't that like what, like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon go off to like kill a bear? They're like I don't know, maybe I'm confusing 2 movies. I think I watched this with my dad like a good like 10 or plus years ago. So I'm really like stretching for details, but yeah, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Robin Williams in it. And let's see. Oh yeah. Matt Damon, the genius level IQ, works as a janitor at MIT. Okay, his details are starting to flood back a little bit, but I'm definitely excited for this month. That's for sure. July is going to be a good one.
July is going to be a good one, and we are off to a good start with Trainspotting. But with that, we will conclude this episode of the Penny Bloom podcast. I was Colton Robertson, and I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Well, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. If you would, head to patreon.com/CoroBloom, where you'll find well over 24 hours of exclusive content at this point. Just a ton of stuff over there for you. All that money goes back into making sure I can put the podcast on. It's quite most enjoyable over there. If you would, head to Twitter, follow at PennyBloomPod, where if we were to change the movie right now, next week is 1997's Good Will Hunting. I don't think it's subject to change, but if it were to change, you'd find out over on Twitter. And we'll let you know there whether or not it's maintained or not. And I don't think it'll change. Good Will Hunting will be our next movie, but if it wasn't going to be, you'd find out there. Follow on Instagram at Penny Bloom Podcast, and remember, peace, love, and bloom. And it's a shite state of affairs.